Hello children, welcome to physics class. In this class, we'll start second chapter in physics, that is force and laws of motion. Force and laws of motion. So we are familiar with the term rest and motion, right? If the object is not changes its position with respect to its nearby surroundings, then we can say the object is at rest. If the object is changing its position with respect to surroundings, then we can say the object is in motion. Correct? So, rest is a natural state of an object. So, natural state of an object is rest. So, if we want to move an object from one place to another place, if we want to transfer an object from one place to another place, so we have to put some effort to change its state of rest to state of motion. To change its state of rest to state of motion, we have to put some efforts to change its state. That efforts may bring the objects into motion. So if we put some effort, if we pull or push the object just to change the state of an object from rest to motion, so that push or pull of an object is known as force. Push or pull of an object which causes the motion of an object, is known as force. So if you push some object or if you pull some object so that the object will change its state of rest to motion, this is known as force. The push or pull of an object which causes the motion of an object. The motion should occur in the object. This is known as force. So you can also define force as it is an external influence that changes the state of an object. It is an external influence that changes the state of an object. So state of an object means the stationary objects may move or moving objects may come to rest, or dimension of an object changes, that is the size and shape of an object changes, direction of an object also changes. So whatever, if we apply some force, if we apply some external, due to some external influence, if the state of an object changes, then it is known as force. So the study of motion of an object is known as mechanics. Study of motion of an object, moving objects, is known as mechanics. Now we can study the effects of force. So if we apply force on an object, what happens to the object? What happens on an object if we apply force on the object? So first thing, if we apply force on a moving object, if we apply force on a stationary object, the force can cause move a stationary object. The force can move a stationary objects. If we apply force on a stationary objects, the stationary object will move. Second one, a force can stop a moving object. If we apply force on a moving object, the object can stop. Third one, a force can change the speed of moving objects. And a fourth one, force can change the direction of an object. Last one, force can change the size and shape of an object. So these are the effects of force. With the help of example, we can study the effects of force now. First one, a force can move stationary object. When a force is applied on a stationary object, that is the object which is at rest. So if a force is acting on the stationary object, okay, the stationary object begins to move in the direction of force. In the direction of force, the object begins to move. Now we can see the example. You can see the example here. This is a stationary object. This is a stationary object. Here the girl is applying force on this stationary object, which causes motion of the stationary object. So the girl is pushing this object so that this stationary object begins to move in the direction of force. So if we apply force on any stationary object, if we apply a force on any stationary object, the stationary object will move in the direction of force. In which direction we are applying force, in that direction only the objects will starts moving. So you can observe here, this object is a stationary object. This object will move in the direction of force. So this girl is applying force along this direction. Girl is applying force along this direction. So this object will also displaces or moves along the same direction of force. So this is first effect of force. Force can move stationary object. With the help of force, we can move a stationary object. The stationary object begins to move if we apply force in the direction of force. In the direction of force, the objects will move with the help of force. By applying force, the objects will move in the direction of force. Second effect of force, force can stop a moving object. So by applying force, we can stop the moving object. So in which direction we have to apply force to stop the moving object? If any object is moving, if you want to stop that object, you have to apply force on the object in the direction opposite to the direction of motion. If you apply force in the direction opposite to the direction of motion of an object, so that we can stop the moving object. You can observe here, the boy is, this ball is in motion. This ball is in motion. The boy is applying force in the direction opposite to the direction of motion of the ball, so that he can stop the ball. If the ball is moving in this direction, the boy is applying force in the direction opposite to the direction of motion. Okay. If the ball is moving along one direction, if the boy applies force in the direction opposite to the direction of motion, so that he can catch the ball or he can stop the motion of the ball. Okay. You can observe in the cricket field, the fielder tries to stop the motion of the ball by catching, or with the help of legs they can stop the motion of a ball by applying force in the direction opposite to the direction of motion of the object. This is second effect of force. force can stop a moving object. Force can stop the moving object. When the force can stop the moving object, if we apply force in the direction opposite to the direction of the motion of the object, at that time only we can stop the motion of object. Third effect of force, force can change the speed of moving object. Force can change the speed of moving object. So very important. Change the speed means the speed of an object may increase or decrease. So speed of an object may increase or decrease with the help of force. By applying force on object, the speed of an object may increases or decreases, but it changes. So when the object speed increases by applying force, when the object speed decreases by applying force, now we can study. When the force is applied in the direction, when the force is applied in the direction of the motion of the object on moving object, if the object is, if this is the object, the motion of the object is along this direction, left to right. If you apply force in the same direction, this is a force, this is velocity. So if the force is acting in the same direction of motion of the object, if we apply force in the same direction of motion of the object, then its speed increases. Its speed increases if we apply force in the direction of motion of the object, in the same direction of motion of the object, then its speed increases. You can see in the picture, this is a vehicle which is in motion. So if this vehicle is in motion along this direction, if this person push the vehicle by applying force, if this person push the vehicle by applying force, that is along this direction, same direction of motion of the object, then the vehicle speed increases. Vehicle speed increases by pushing the vehicle in the same direction of motion. So the speed of a moving object increases if we apply force in same direction of motion of the object. Next case, when the force is applied in the direction opposite to the direction of motion of the object. If we apply force on the object in the direction opposite to the direction of motion of an object. If the object is moving along this direction, if you apply force on the object in the direction opposite to its motion, what happens in this case? Its speed decreases. Okay? Its speed decreases and finally it may stop if the opposite force is greater than this initial force. So in the picture you can see, if this person, this is the direction of motion of the object, vehicle. So if this person, instead of pushing along the same direction, if he pulls the object in the direction opposite to the direction of motion, if he pulls the object, at that time the speed of the object decreases. Speed of the object decreases. if we apply force in the direction opposite to the direction of motion. Next effect of force. Force can change the direction of moving object. So this is very important. So by applying force, that force can change the direction of moving object. How the force can change the direction of moving object? If we apply force on the moving object in the direction perpendicular to the direction of its motion. If we apply force in the direction perpendicular to the direction of motion, at that case the direction of the moving object changes. You can see in the picture, initially the direction of the ball is along this direction. Direction of the ball is along this direction. So the force is acting in the direction perpendicular to the direction of motion, perpendicular to the direction of motion, so that the direction of the ball changes. If we apply force in the direction perpendicular to the direction of motion of the object, then the direction of the moving object changes. Even in the cricket also, cricket ball changes its direction after hitting from the bat, because the batsman apply force in the direction perpendicular to the direction of motion of the ball, so that the direction of the ball changes due to force. Last effect of force. Force can change the size and shape of an object. If you apply force on a non-rigid object, which it should not be so much of hard, it should be a non-rigid or a soft object. On that object, if we apply force, due to the force, the size and shape of the non-rigid object or a soft object changes. So you can see in the picture, if you push the balloon from two sides, the size and shape of the balloon changes. Or you can take an example as clay. The size and shape of the clay also changes with the help of force. And a sponge also you can take. The size and shape of the sponge also changes by applying force on it. So by applying force on a non-rigid object, the size and shape of the non-rigid object changes by applying force on the objects. So these are the effects of force. You can list out the effects of force. You may get question in the examination. Mention any two effects of force for 2 marks, or with the help of examples explain the effects of force. So what are the effects of force? The force can move a stationary object. First one, a force can move a stationary object. Second one, a force can stop a moving object. Third one, the speed of a moving object changes by applying force. Fourth one, the direction of the moving object changes by applying force. And the fifth one, a force can change the size and shape of an object. With the help of examples, you can explain in the examination. And we'll stop here. We can continue in the next class.